All right, buckle up, Internet Explorers. Today, we are diving headfirst into the weird, wild world of internet subcultures. And where else would we start than the infamous Kiwi Farms?
That's right. We're taking you on a deep dive into a corner of the internet that's well known for its, shall we say, unique way of documenting what they call lolcows.
Yeah.
Those people who become often accidentally objects of fascination online.
And just to be clear, we're not here to give Kiwi Farms a thumbs up. Think of us more like digital archaeologists,
No.
carefully digging through the artifacts of this online community.
Exactly. We're here to understand, not to endorse. And in this deep dive, we're focusing on one particular lolcow who's been the star of a very, very long thread on Kiwi Farms, Daniel Paul Harris, better known in certain circles as Razor Fist.
And that's the first thing that jumps out about this guy. I mean, the dude's got more online aliases than a spy movie. Razor Fist, the Rageaholic, ex-Razorfist egg, and it's almost like he's trying to lay down a digital smokescreen.
It's a bit of a digital mystery, isn't it? And you've hit on a key point. Kiwi Farms, they love a good puzzle. They piece together these digital dossiers, almost like a digital fingerprint of a person. And their thread on Razor Fist, it's meticulous. Screenshots, forum posts, even get this old Angel Fire websites. Angel Fire, remember that?
It's like stepping back into the internet stone age, but it just shows how much they've dug up on this guy. And they don't hold back, let me tell you. They describe him as this hipster metal fag, a gaming journalist who, and get this, they claim doesn't even play the games he reviews.
Well, and we do have to unpack some of that language, right? Because it gives you a sense of, well, the Kiwi Farms vibe.
Yeah.
Dark humor, sometimes offensive slang. It's a window into a very specific subculture.
Definitely not for the easily offended. But even with all that, they've actually put together a pretty detailed timeline of Razor Fist's life. Born in '85, grew up in Phoenix, Arizona, even dipped his toes into Japanese language and culture back in high school. Sounds, pretty normal so far.
On the surface, maybe. But remember, Kiwi Farms loves a good contradiction. And this early interest in Japanese culture, it kind of clashes with the Razor Fist we meet later on, especially in, well, what we'll call the Miss Macy incident.
Oh yeah, that's a whole saga in itself. Picture this. Young Daniel, obsessed with everything Japan, discovers the wonders of the early internet. Maybe some online forum for, anime fans. And that's where he meets Miss Macy. And, well, let's just say things don't exactly go according to plan.
According to Kiwi Farms, anyway.
Right.
This encounter becomes a turning point for young Razor Fist. He develops feelings for Miss Macy, tries to, pursue a relationship, and gets rejected. But this being the internet, things escalate. The forum describes him spiraling, this rage fueled by rejection, oddly enough, directed at Japan itself.
Yeah, it's like he's taking his heartbreak out on a whole country.
Yeah.
But it does make you think, about how online interactions, especially back then, could really mess with your head. Have you ever had, an experience online that felt way more intense than it would have in person?
Absolutely. And that's what's so interesting about this Miss Macy incident, right? Whether it's entirely true or, embellished by the Kiwi Farms hive mind, it shows how powerful these platforms can be. They can amplify emotions, especially the negative ones. Rejection feels more personal, slights more significant, and that can have a real impact on how people behave online.
It's a good reminder that there's a real person behind that screen, even if they're acting like, well, a total jerk.
Exactly. And speaking of online personas, this brings us to another chapter in Razor Fist's digital life. His time as a musician in a black metal band called, wait for it, Mortiferous, which, according to the forum, existed from, get this, 1999 to 2008.
Oh man, I love this part. It's classic internet history. They even found this story about him kicking out a band member and posting about it on, you guessed it, their Angel Fire website. Can you imagine the drama unfolding on those early internet forums?
It seems almost quaint now, doesn't it? But it shows that Razor Fist has been building an online persona for, well, decades. This wasn't some overnight thing. He was at it back when dial-up was still a thing.
And it's fascinating to think about how those early communities, especially in a niche scene like black metal, shaped his whole online style.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Metal music has always had this intensity, this shared passion, maybe a little gatekeeping too, and online platforms. They were the perfect breeding ground for all of that.
So we've got Razor Fist, the metalhead, out there in the Wild West of the early internet, right? But his online journey takes a turn around, the late 2000s. He adopts the Razor Fist persona, complete with the lout, and decides to become a video game and movie reviewer.
Yeah, this is around 2011 when YouTube was becoming the platform for, anyone who wants to be a critic.
Yeah.
And Razor Fist, he finds his niche. But Kiwi Farms, they point out this interesting detail. They claim he relied heavily on an editor, someone behind the scenes, cleaning up his work.
And of course, Kiwi Farms thinks this is hilarious, especially considering what comes later. But you got to remember, back then, the lines between reviewer, entertainer, internet personality, it was all getting kind of blurry. Everyone was trying to, build a following, stand out.
And some, it seems, were willing to bend the rules a little more than others. Which brings us to a pretty pivotal moment in Razer Fist's online career. His run-in with Encyclopedia Dramatica.
Oh, yeah, Encyclopedia Dramatica. Now, for those who don't know, think of it like Kiwi Farms, even more, shall we say, unhinged cousin.
Imagine a website dedicated entirely to, digging up dirt on internet personality, no matter how embarrassing, how obscure.
In Razer Fist, he becomes one of their targets. And they didn't just make fun of his reviews, they allegedly doxed him. Put his real name out there, even some personal details.
It's a reminder of that dark side of online anonymity, You can create this persona, but you're also vulnerable to having that persona, shattered. Right. Especially in those corners of the internet where the rules are, let's say, a bit looser.
And Razer Fist, he did not take it well, at all. The forum describes him going on this, deletion spree, trying to scrub his online presence like it never happened.
Like trying to erase his digital footprint.
Yeah.
But the internet never forgets.
Right. It's like trying to put toothpaste back in the tube. And this whole Encyclopedia Dramatica thing, it seems to change him. He gets even more defensive, more, prone to feuds, more
rage-fueled.
Yeah, exactly. Like the name Razer Fist just kind of took over. And it's around this time that his content takes a turn too. This is 2016 peak political division, and Razer Fist decides to dive headfirst into the world of political commentary.
And this is where things get really interesting from a sociological perspective. You see how these online platforms can be used for political gain, how these communities, even ones about, video games, can become these echo chambers.
It's like he found a whole new audience, a new target for his, let's call it, passionate style. And Kiwi Farms, they eat it up. They have this whole section dedicated to his Oracle of Arizona phase, filled with all these, outlandish predictions about Trump and the future of America.
Which, of course, often turned out to be completely wrong. But it speaks to this need for validation, for attention. It's a common thread we see in a lot of online behavior.
It's like this vicious cycle. The more wrong he is, the more he doubles down. And it's not just political stuff either. The forum, they love to document his online feuds. And man, the guy has a lot of them.
Conflict seems to be his fuel. Other YouTubers, critics, random people on Twitter, if you disagreed with Razer Fist, you're pretty much guaranteed to become the target of one of his rants.
And it brings up this point that I think is, really relevant to anyone who spends time online, the disinhibition effect. Basically the idea that we're all a little less restrained online, right? More likely to say things we'd never say to someone's face.
Exactly. And that can manifest in a lot of different ways, from, nasty comments to cyberbullying to, full-blown online feuds. And with Razer Fist, we see how this disinhibition combined with his need for attention, it creates this perfect storm of online conflict.
It's like he's hooked on the drama, the outrage, and this pattern, it goes beyond just, big-name feuds. The forum mentions him burning bridges with collaborators, friends, even fans who, dared to disagree with him.
It's a pattern that's both, fascinating and a little bit disturbing, isn't it?
Totally. It makes you think about the toll it takes, this constant need to be right, to be heard, even if it means pushing everyone away.
Right. And it's not just pushing people away online. As we go further down the Kiwi Farms rabbit hole, we find something much more serious than just online arguments and hurt feelings. We see a much darker side of Razer Fist start to emerge.
Yeah, and this is where the Kiwi Farms thread takes, a pretty dark turn. Up to this point, we've been talking about, Razer Fist's online persona, his need for attention, that tendency to lash out. But the allegations that come up in this part of the deep dive, they're a lot more serious.
And we want to be cautious here, right? We're talking about accusations, not, proven facts. But according to the forum, Razer Fist started a relationship with a, at the time, underage fan. Her name is Eve. This was sometime around 2015.
The forum claims he was in his late 20s and Eve was only 15.
Yeah, and it gets pretty explicit. The forum posts, they share screenshots, personal information, stuff we're definitely not going to repeat here.
It's a disturbing glimpse into a side of Razer Fist that's, it's pretty far removed from the whole, over-the-top internet personality. It's hard to square, right? The guy making those rambling video game reviews with these accusations. And it makes you think about Kiwi Farms itself, you know? Are
Yeah.
they exposing something harmful? Or are they just exploiting it for clicks and entertainment?
That's the line they walk, isn't it? These online communities, they can be platforms for, holding people accountable, but they can also turn into these spaces where people are publicly shamed and harassed. It's messy. There are no easy answers.
For sure. And it makes you think about the power dynamics too. You know, you've got someone like Razorfist, he's built this following, this platform, and then you have these young, probably impressionable fans.
Absolutely. It's a good reminder that as much as we try to separate the internet from, real life, what happens online, it has real-world consequences.
No doubt. And to make things even more complicated, the Kiwi Farms thread, it also talks about Razorfist being hacked. Like the hackers, they exposed the relationship with Eve, deleted some of his online accounts.
It's like watching a digital house of cards fall apart. That persona he built so carefully, the online identity, it all starts to crumble.
It's a reminder that on the internet, nothing stays buried forever. And sometimes the truth, it comes out in the messiest ways possible.
It certainly does. And as we come to the end of our little deep dive here, it's worth thinking about, what we've learned. We've seen how these platforms, they can be used to build communities, share passions, connect with people who get you.
But we've also seen the downsides.
Yeah.
The harassment, the misinformation, the ways these spaces can be, weaponized.
It's a cautionary tale, that's for sure.
Yeah.
But it also reminds us that the internet, it's a reflection of us. The good, the bad, all of it.
So where does that leave us? What are we supposed to, take away from all this?
I think the biggest takeaway is, critical thinking. Questioning what we see online. Thinking about the motivations of the people creating this content.
Being mindful of our own online behavior too, right?
Yeah.
Recognizing that we all have the potential to cause harm and using these platforms responsibly.
Exactly. Because at the end of the day, the internet is what we make it. It's up to us to create a digital world that's, entertaining but also ethical. A space where we can connect and learn without fear of being harassed or exploited.
That's a good note to end on. So as you navigate the often confusing world of the internet, remember to stay curious, stay critical, and most importantly, stay safe.